How's it going, guys? We're back in the world of the first Descendant, and today I got some pretty interesting news for you. First off, players are proposing some pretty outlandish changes when it comes to the Outpost, some that has my mind a little boggled. Next, there's one very annoying Descendant in the game, making it very hard for most players to see that probably needs some changes. And the first Descendant has a pretty insane AFK problem. We got a lot to talk about in this one, guys, so let's dive right on in. So this post is from Magenta Gunner. This has over 400 upvotes. Outpost should guarantee one amorphous, or at the very least guarantee one if you stealth it. So if you successfully stealth it on normal, you should get one guarantee and a second by 25% chance and whatnot. And in hard mode, it should guarantee one of the two it offers and a second one being the other one in case, but 25% too, or 50-50 for both. Farming Outpost for 4 to 5 hours with only 5 amorphous out of it, with the result of getting absolutely nothing 7 out of 10 times is kinda nut. Yeah, RNG sure, but you're normally not gonna get one every time, and when that happens, you usually get nothing at all for at least a few tries, which is frustrating. Either guarantee it or get rid of the void farm. You need to do it between Outpost and amorphous, because this is actually extra and it serves no purpose other than to waste time to extend the grind artificially. And there was a few comments that I wanted to point out before I give my thoughts on this. I would certainly have less of a problem with the 5-minute cooldown if I knew I would be guaranteed to get one or the other needs to change. Then the OP responded with that too. I'd be fine with 10-second cooldown or even 1 minute, but 5, why? We need to farm void farms already. Don't make us wait that much. It's really unnecessary. So let's unpack this and see why this makes zero sense in terms of the game content. So let's say, for example, you want to farm other forms of content in the game, and let's say for a dungeon on their most optimal build, some of the shortest dungeons, that would take 5 minutes. Now, on the most optimal builds that I have available, the fastest dungeon takes me about 6 minutes. So let's go with an unrealistic 5 minutes to complete a dungeon where most players probably wouldn't be able to. What this is suggesting is that you go into an area that requires you to wait 5 minutes. There's a very distinctive difference between playing content for 5 minutes and going to an outpost and waiting for 5 minutes for it to spawn, and guarantee that you get it for pressing the E key on her stealth, pressing the E key 4 times on a little box, and killing one mediocre health enemy, compared to other contents like dungeon, where you have to complete an entire dungeon, usually with a ton of modifiers, with conditions, timers, things that require you to complete things within the game, face off against a boss you may or may not be able to beat, and only then are you guaranteed to get an item. The reason why this is an illogical proposition is because one requires no time investment, it requires you to wait for 5 minutes, and the other requires you to play for 5 minutes. And that's why one is guaranteed to give you one, because you do have the possibility of possibly failing, where the other one you don't actually have a possibility of failing. Let's not pretend like pressing E on Sharon and pressing a few consoles is actually a tough thing to accomplish. That is very easy content that any person can do, and there should be no reason why you're guaranteed to get one for so low effort. People are measuring 5 minutes of game time versus 5 minutes of waiting as something that is equal, and that makes zero sense. He also did say that, well, a 10-second cooldown would be much nicer. Now we step into the territory of devaluing dungeons as a whole. If I can wait for 10 seconds and guarantee that I get one for simply stealthing, it's illogical to go do dungeons at all. Hell, even if it was still the current 25% chance, you have a 25% chance, which means within a minute you can do it 6 times. Let's say that you are a little slow, 5 times of a 25% chance in a minute. That is illogical of a proposition, and this doesn't work. A much better solution, and maybe one that would fit better for most players, would be whenever one of the outposts has like a 5-minute timer, it snapshots the timer, so whenever you come back to it, let's say you go do another outpost that is on another map, you go do that, you finish it in 2 minutes, you do another one in 2 minutes, when you come back it'll still have like 45 seconds left, and so that you can actually farm more efficiently, and that would be a much better proposition than having the ability to just straight up farm them endlessly, because once again we're devaluing other types of content, and that just doesn't make sense for the game. Now, he did claim that he was farming for 4 to 5 hours and only got 5, which is statistically very inaccurate and very unlikely. There are 12 5-minute instances within an hour, so let's go with your minimum. That's 48 different instances of getting those material, and you only got 5 out of that. That does not statistically make sense at all, and I am prone to believing that the OP is absolutely lying, and like most of the people responding, I get the feeling that players are just being lazy. The results that they're posting makes no sense to me, and as someone with over 200 hours in the game, I do not experience these same results. Next, we have a post from Jung Wu, Gley Infinite Ammo Launcher. And as you can see with the image, they're saying shoot the weak spot. Yeah, brother, I'm shooting. If you've ever played with a Gley, you will know what they're talking about with the rocket spam, which is absolutely mental and ridiculous. I've seen people actually crash because of the rocket spam, and it's a little ridiculous. I don't think that the rocket is actually supposed to function the way that it is. I'm all for giving players power, but I do think Gley always break the game in a weird way. That's why she is the most nerfed Descendant in all of the first Descendant, because her kit does break the game. And I do think that the infinite rocket thing needs to be tweaked a little bit, because right now I don't think Gleys do much more damage than a shooting Gley, and in most cases it actually just hinders the gameplay for a lot of players. And at the very least, consider it like having a toggle of some sort so players can actually be able to see or something. It is a little bit ridiculous. It does ruin the game for me personally, and again, I see a lot in my chat, so yeah, definitely need some changes. But yeah, this is actually pretty spot on with Gley. I'm expecting to see some changes with her soon. Next, let's talk about the AFK issues that's going on in the game, and let's check it out. First off, the first Descendant released this post. You probably saw it when you logged into the game. So this is from the first Descendant dev team. Lately, there have been increasing reports of inappropriate behavior in our game. While the dev team is working on measures, we want to remind Descendants of the following guidelines. 1. The use, distribution, or creation of unauthorized programs is strictly prohibited. 2. Do not go AFK during co-op play. If you need to step away, please do so in Albion only. And then 3. Please refrain from AFK farming during missions. Now obviously the AFK is a little annoying, especially when I'm doing farming runs in the open world where players will actually just sit there and kind of do nothing. I'm fine with someone like pressing the button and keeping the farm going. That's completely fine, but there's a lot of times where you're in the open world and players just kind of don't do anything. And generally speaking, I don't mind helping players. I always do that every day on my stream, but I don't like the idea of just jumping in and having a player just leech and contribute nothing to the fight. Of course, if there's a bunny just absolutely killing everything when she runs in a circle, I kind of understand that, but at the very least make a little bit of an effort to kind of help out. With that in mind, we do have a few people having some pretty interesting interactions. Check this one out. We're reporting for not moving for a few seconds now, and as you can see with the conversation, it does look like a bunny is reporting players for not moving, and obviously this person went AFK to change his mod, at least seemingly, and it looks like the bunny seems to want to report the player. It's always the bunnies, I swear to God. And this player is doing their absolute best to make a fool of themselves, being upset that the person is changing their mod. Now I understand if a player is like AFK, but it does look like he almost immediately responded in there talking, and like if the person is obviously changing their mod and responding, the bunny player probably shouldn't be as rude to this person. But yeah, it does look like some players are kind of getting upset, and it's starting to get to a point where there's a lot of like hate in the community because of the AFK situations. And this bunny, for example, is attacking a player who is simply changing their mod. I do it every single time. Sometimes I forget to put a mod in, sometimes things change. I actually have a bossing build and a mobbing build, so sometimes when I'm running through the dungeon, I would actually just like use my like mobbing build, and then when I get to the boss, I'll change to the bossing build. So it does require, you know, for me to go AFK for like maybe 5 or 6 seconds to swap some things in and out. And this is kind of what this person seemed to be doing, and this guy is very upset about it. But on the other end, we do have some players like this. As you can see in the screenshot, this person is saying, please make sure to report people for AFK. This guy is going womp womp. It's the game's fault for not giving me sell after 28 tries. I'm on 35. Grow up and play the game. You're the one crying. As you can see, once again, a lot of toxicity in the community. A lot of this is from drop rates, which I'm sure a lot of this is players just not wanting to play the game and complaining about it. And on the other end, there's players who are upset with players always going AFK and just simply lashing out. And it's unfortunate that this is happening, but hopefully Nexon can get on top of this and make some good positive changes, because this is like not really good. This is just a bad look overall. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think about all the things we talked about today, the AFK issues, the Gley rocket spam, and of course the big one, the Outpost nonsense. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts, and in the next video I'll be sure to read it so you guys can, you know, have your voice being heard. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.